Hey folks, I'm Spencer. On today's episode of Cult Mania, we're going to be doing, well, the Cult Mania Awards 2020. Time for some good films. I'm going to be really upfront. Doing an awards thing for 2020 has not been the easiest. I mean, I've only been doing this channel for about 3-4 months of the year, so there's a bunch of stuff from earlier in the year that I didn't cover on here. Some of that is going to come up in this awards thing, which is good because it means that I'm not just recycling what I've already said, but it is going to seem strange that I'm like, this is one of the best things this year. I haven't told you about it before. Also, it's just been a weird year because I've been to the cinema a whole 2 times this year. They were in the space of 1 week from the start of January to the first week of Feb. So it's been difficult to pick out amazing things that came out in 2020 because I feel very behind. It's never good being in the UK because we get things very late. There's just going to be some really weird omissions. I'm sure there are things that people are going to go, oh, why didn't you put that on? And it's just that either it's not out over here or I haven't had a chance to see it yet. But hopefully these are still some really good films and TV shows that you should check out. So let's get on with the awards. Now, I'm kicking things off with Best Re-Release, Restoration, Collector's Edition, because that's where the most of my money has been going this year, because it's the main thing that's been out. We have gotten a lot of new restorations, new collector's editions this year, and that is in part because 4K technology is becoming much more accessible. We're getting more films on 4K Blu-ray, we're getting lower budgeted, weirder films that you wouldn't think would be getting lovely treatment that are getting that treatment now, and I think that's a brilliant thing. And we've been getting, I mean, that's not to say that there haven't been some fantastic restorations outside of 4K releases. That's just been the big, there's been a big surge in that this year, and I think that's a very good thing. We've also been getting some fantastic box sets, lots of great collectors items in that regard, lots of, multi-film releases. Basically, it's a really good time to be collecting films. That has made it very difficult to pick this. So I'm splitting this category down the middle. I'm going to give the Best Restoration Award to Second Sight's version of Dawn of the Dead, because if anyone has seen my review of this, you know that I absolutely love this. This is the best single film release that has come out this year because it is the best way to see one of the best films ever. It has got everything you could ever want bonus feature wise. So much love has clearly gone into this that it's hard not to just want to give it. You could give this countless awards like best bonus feature, best book that came with a film. I know that sounds really stupid. It's just really good. And then I'm going to give the best multi-film collection big collector's box set award to Arrow's Gamera box, because it's got every film from the Gamera series in it. They all look fabulous. You get some lovely books with it. It's another one. It's like the Dawn of the Dead one, but kaiju sized. Bad puns. It's lovely because being a kaiju cinema fan in the UK has been pretty rubbish because stuff doesn't come out here. So last year we got the Criterion Showa Godzilla box. This year we got Gamera. It is a really good time to be a kaiju fan right now, and this just warmed my heart so much. hadn't planned on doing this award, but I just felt like we needed some more fun awards in this, so I thought, well, cult cinema and horror especially are full of moments that just dumbfound you, that gross you out, that make you go, what? And I had one of the biggest ones of those this year on the first of my trips to the cinema, sat in a darkened auditorium with my wife and my parents, staring at a massive black and white mermaid fanny in Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. It was not something I thought I needed to see this year, but I mean, it's one of the greatest images I've seen in cinema this year. I know it came out in the States last year, but we didn't get it till January. It's a really good film. It's got Big Mermaid Fanny in it. TV has been something that undoubtedly has got a lot of people through this year. I think we've had far more great TV shows this year than we have in previous, or at least TV seemed to grow and be talked about a lot more, mainly because cinemas have been shut. We've not been going to the pictures as often, so TV has sort of filled that void. And I'm not trying to say that every single piece of TV that's come out this year has been perfect. I'm not even trying to say that the TV shows I'm going to mention here are perfect, but I feel like TV deserves its moment in the spotlight in these awards, even though I don't talk about TV all that often. And I'm going to say, this was a pretty tight one, or at least I thought it was going to be until I sort of started writing down comparative notes. But my pick for best TV show of this year is Dennis Kelly's The Third Day, because I just loved every minute of this. It managed to take something that felt like it was going to be a sort of vaguely Wicker Man, you know, strange people who live on an island thing. They could, you know, a lot of people seem to dismiss it as that was all it was, but it's so weird and so wonderful, and I just loved it. I mean, it's anchored by really good central performances from people like Jude Law, Catherine Waterston, Naomi Harris. It's got fantastic cinematography. It has this lovely thing where it's not in black and white, but it's not in full colour. They'll like put the edges of the frame in black and white, or they'll just only have one colour in certain scenes. It looks fantastic without being ridiculous. I was about to say this isn't ridiculously stylised. It sounds ridiculously stylised, and it kind of is. It's got a fantastic score, and it's all capped off by the fact that they, in the middle of the series, did a 12-hour continuous live episode, which was awesome. It was brilliant. I watched as much of it as I physically could. Who didn't want to watch Jude Law dig a grave and drag a boat around for hours? It was awesome. And it's one of those shows that I kind of want more of it, because I have so many questions and I just want to be in the world of The Third Day for more time. But it also, those questions are what make it so good, and I kind of don't want it ruined by having those questions answered. I don't think it got a fair shake, and I would definitely recommend watching The Third Day. It's the best piece of TV of 2020. If you know anything about me, you know that I love a good film score. And 2020 has thrown up quite a few good ones at us. Whether it's Clint Mansell's lovely sort of very classic sounding Rebecca score, or the sort of haunting, perfectly inner feeling Jim Williams score for Possessor. We've had some fantastic scores in films. I mean, I saw Tenet last night, and I very nearly gave this award to Ludwig Göransson for his Tenet score, because it is so propulsive, and it was one of the first scores that I really had this year where it didn't take me listening to it again to really love it. But I think that is why I'm not giving it to that because I need more time to sort of let it sink in. And I think, again, TV has thrown up some fantastic scores this year. So video games, but I don't really talk about video games because I would be massively up shit creek if I had to put video game scores in this, because there is some fantastic stuff in that as well. And this is another battle between The Third Day, which Cristobal Tapia did Utopia. He did a fantastic score for the first 3 episodes. They then changed it for the last 3, and I don't think that score was quite as good, which is why the best score for 2020 is going to Devs, created by Jeff Barrow, Ben Salisbury and The Insects. This is a fantastic score that sort of creeps up on you. It's not something that I think, it's not always in your face, it very much can be, but it's this lovely mix of strings and of a lot of voice that can be very sort of soothing, very quiet, and then it can be very, very jolting. There's this like wah, 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 wah noise that comes up in the soundtrack a lot. I have no idea how they made that noise. It's very jarring, it's very, very good. But I think the key thing to this soundtrack is that Devs could very easily have been a very cold show, a very intellectual, very mechanical show because of its themes and because of how its characters can be. And I think the score very much gave it a much more human, much more accessible quality, and I think that's what gives it the edge into being the best score of 2020. Now, I've had to be very, very ruthless with the best performance category here because I am very, very forgiving of actors, bad acting, and I also find it very difficult to pick out someone who is very good. If an entire cast is very good, I do think, you know, I'm very much, you know, that person wouldn't have been as good without that person. I mean, this is why we need awards in like the Oscars for best ensemble cast. You know, it's very, very difficult to pick out, I don't know, in Parasite, one performance that is better than the others because they are all so good. I also run into the problem when it comes to doing performance that I watch a lot of films that aren't in English, that I'm having to watch subtitled, and that makes, you can still tell a bad performance from a good performance, but I can't deal with intricacies. I can't, you know, if I'm watching a Japanese film, I'm not going to be able to pick out that someone's Tokyo accent is authentic. It's those little intricacies that mean that it can be very difficult to try and give awards to actors speaking a language that I don't understand. But I was very thankful, and this is, I promise this is the last award that goes to TV, that Nick Offerman gave such a fantastic performance in Devs.
Life is just something we watch unfold.
He managed to take a character who should have been incredibly caricatured or a bit silly. I mean, if you've seen a picture of him in this, his hair is appalling, he looks like a caricature in it, but he managed to turn Forrest into one of the most human characters I can remember in anything, and he's the baddie, sort of. But I cared about, to be honest, I cared about him more than I cared about the series lead, which is so much to do with just how fantastic his performance was, and the fact that I love Parks and Recreations, and I never once was like, he never slipped into being Ron Swanson for me. He was always Forrest, and that is really impressive because, I mean, you know, living in the UK, Parks and Recs is on all the time, so that is who he is to me, and yet I completely just bought into this whole new character, and I don't know, I've not stopped thinking about a few key scenes in Devs, and it's his performance that has really kept those in my brain. So Nick Offerman, accept your award for Best Performance of 2020. I really didn't want to do a worst film of this year. I mean, if you look back through the channel, you can find the worst film of this year. But I didn't want to give it an award because I don't want to be mean. So this is sort of mean, but I mean, this is a terrible film that's winning this award. I'm sure everyone knows exactly where I'm going with this, but it is probably the most fun I've had with a film this year. It's Verotica. Glenn Danzig's absolute Plan 9 level mess of an anthology movie is so much fun. This has been an awful year, and Verotica is what we needed this year, just to be able to sit and have a laugh for 2 hours. I can't even remember how long it is. I cry laughed watching this film. There are comedies that don't make me do that. This is really what we needed this year. Anyone who's had a bad day, just sit and watch Verotica. It's so much fun. And, you know, it has given us the Glenn Danzig zoom, the greatest innovation in cinematography ever. It's just, I kind of want to go and watch it again now. I kind of want to stop recording and go and have a whale of a time watching Verotica. So it is the best worst film of 2020. This is a bit of a weird award, but this is basically my chance to gush about all the things that didn't come out in 2020 that I saw for the first time this year and thought, that's really bloody good, that is. I mean, I don't really know where to start, but I mean, everyone, if you have Shudder, you should definitely be watching In Search of Darkness. It's a 4-hour documentary on 80s horror with everyone you could ever want interviewed. It's so thorough and it's so much fun. It's such a light watch. 4 hours feels like a lot, and it feels like it could be very sort of a trudge. It's not. It's briskly paced. You could watch it. I watched it as like a few hour-plus episodes. I didn't watch it all in one go, but it's brilliant, and I cannot wait to see part 2. I'm very sad that I came to it just as the Kickstarter campaign for 2 ended, and I was like, oh. But definitely check that out. It's only been a couple of weeks since I saw Akira for the first time and had my mind completely blown. I've never really got into anime before. This is the first thing that has really made me want to seek out more stuff. Please give me some recommendations in the comments, please. But I am going back to, it must have been January that I first saw Sujin Suzuki's Tokyo Drifter, which is my discovery of this year. Because, oh my god, this film is so stylish, it's so cool, it ticks every box that I could possibly have for best, like, masterpiece film. But it's not the film itself that I'm giving it to the film, but not because of the film solely. It's because it opened my eyes to a bunch of new films. It led me towards buying Graveyards of Honor. I bought Branded to Kill after seeing that. That led me to Joe Shishida and his fantastic Chipmunk Cheeks and wanting to see more of his films. It's this like awesome gateway film into a bunch of other 60s and 70s Yakuza-y Japanese exploitation films. And it's an awesome film with an awesome song, and I love it, and it's going to be a staple film. I'm going to watch it as often as I can. So that, Tokyo Drifter, is my best discovery of 2020. I started out planning to do just one Best Film award, but I can't do it because there is only one film in the UK that could be the best film of 2020, and that's so unfair on a bunch of other films that I love so much from this year, that I've separated them into mainstream film because, I mean, Parasite came out this year, and I'm sorry, but it's one of the best films ever. It's the one time that I can remember that the Oscars got it right. It's amazing. It's just a masterpiece of a film. It gets better every watch. All of the performances are great. It's like a Swiss watch, watching just every little bit of it fall perfectly into place. It's brilliant, and you should believe the hype and you should watch Parasite. But stick around, because there is another film that I love so much this year that could never get into the stratosphere of being where that is, but it needs to be known. So that leaves us with the best cult film of the year. This is the big award for me. This is the one where someone should be proud of winning this one. I mean, they shouldn't, because I'm just some dude telling you that this film is good, but I mean, there was a lot of competition for this. I mean, I loved The Lighthouse, I loved Come to Daddy. Those were two of the first films I saw this year. They were amazing. I might be alone, but I really like Ben Wheatley's Rebecca. I think it's great. I appear to be completely alone in that. I mean, second place for this goes to Takeshi Miike's First Love, another fantastic film I saw at the start of this year. I know it came out elsewhere, but sod it, you've heard that excuse enough. That is fantastic and has some of Miike's best stuff in a long time, in my opinion, but I went into that knowing that I was probably going to like it. Look, let's just get on with it. The best cult film of 2020 is Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway by Miguel Lanzo, because I've never quite seen a film like it, and since I watched it, it's sort of just been in the back of my mind all the time. It is, you know, it's a fantastic sort of homage to exploitation cinema, to kung fu cinema. It's got so much in it, but it feels, it is a very singular film. It feels like there is only Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway that is like it is. I had a lot of trouble trying to compare it to other films when I reviewed it. It's amazing. I love the weird stop motion-y stuff. I mean, Bat Throw. It's just full of so many bizarre, wonderful ideas that it's just the most singular film of this year, in my opinion, and the best cult film of this year. But I mean, this is my personal awards. What are your favourite films that have come out in 2020? I mean, do pick my categories and fill them in yourself in the comments. Like and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, and I shall see you next year.